Brent here from American English with this guy, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but I'm actually in bed. I've been sick in bed for about the last 3 days, and it gave me the idea that if you're learning English, you probably want to know how to talk about being sick. So in today's English lesson, we are going to talk about vocabulary words, common sayings, idioms, English phrasal verbs that we use when we talk about being sick. It's about October as I'm filming this, and it's the start of cold and flu season. It's cold and flu season. Basically goes from October until probably March here. A lot of people get sick at this time. So in today's lesson, I'm going to focus on the common cold and flu and the symptoms that we have and some of the remedies or ways we fix ourselves from being sick. One thing that always makes me feel better is taking a shower and getting some fresh air outside. So that's what I'm going to do. And the next time you see me, hopefully I'll be looking a little better after a shower outside, getting some fresh air, and we'll talk about being sick in English. All right. I took my shower, I took my medicine, and now I'm down by the river for a little fresh air. Sometimes that can help when you're sick to get a little fresh air. That's what we call it when you get outside, get out of the house. Maybe you're feeling a little cooped up inside or stuck inside and there's too much stale air. That's the opposite of fresh air. Have you heard that word before, stale? Think about a bag of potato chips, and maybe you open them, but you accidentally leave them open all night. Well, the next day, your potato chips, they're stale. They don't taste good anymore. We can describe air inside, if you've been cooped up, as stale. Not really good if you're feeling sick. Let's talk about symptoms. Those are the reasons you are feeling bad. If you go to the doctor's office, one of the first things they might ask you is, what are your symptoms? So let's start this part of the body, right up here. So you might have a stuffy head. Let's talk about that word stuffy for a second. Stuffy is an adjective, but it can also be a verb. So let's say you have a really small car and you need to get a lot of people inside. You might say that you are stuffing them inside. So it's full, just like a stuffy head. It might be full of a bunch of junk up there and it really makes your head ache. You might have a headache. You could also have a stuffy nose, and that is when your nose is full of stuff. We might call that stuff snot. Not exactly fun to think about, but think about the last time you had a cold and there was a bunch of stuff in your nose. We call that stuff snot. But what if the opposite is happening? Your nose isn't stuffy, it's runny, and there is stuff flowing from your nose. We could call that snot. We might call it mucus, but mucus can also be found in the throat. Right here is your throat. I can't point to my throat. This is my neck. My throat is on the inside of my neck. And sometimes you can have a scratchy throat or an itchy throat, or your throat could be full of mucus. Let's talk about scratchy and itchy. They're basically the same. Let's say I wanted to scratch my shoulder. Hopefully you can see that I'm scratching or itching my shoulder. Well, if your throat is sore, you might say that it's scratchy or itchy, almost like you want to itch it, but you can't. The same could happen for your eyes. You might have scratchy eyes or itchy eyes. That is sometimes a symptom of being sick. If your throat is itchy or scratchy, you might often have to clear your throat. And this is what it sounds like when someone clears their throat. Almost like you're trying to get that junk or that mucus out from your throat. Sometimes you might have aches and pains all over your body. It's what we call it when your body hurts. You have aches and pains, and sometimes your joints hurt. You may be wondering, what's a joint? Well, look at, you see my elbow where it bends like that? Those are your joints. So any place your body bends, we call it a joint. And sometimes your joints really hurt if you're sick. Another thing that might happen if you're sick is that you run a temperature or you run a fever. And that is when your body is really hot. Remember, in the United States, we use Fahrenheit to tell temperature. So 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit is the average temperature for the human body. If it goes higher than that, guess what? You're running a temperature or you're running a fever. Well, how do you know if you're running a temperature or a fever? You'll take your temperature with a thermometer. And most of the time with a thermometer, at least these days, we will tuck it under the tongue. If you're running a fever, if your body is really hot, you might get the chills or the shivers. That's when your body is actually feeling really cold. If you're sneezing a lot, and in English we say hachoo, hachoo, that's a sneeze. I don't know what it is in your language, but you might need some tissues. If you're as old as I am or older, you might know temperatures were at one time taken a different way, and I don't really want to go into that. But you could take it under the tongue, you could take it under the armpit. The armpit, can you see that? The armpit is right there, or there's another way that I'm definitely not going to talk about. If you're sick, let's talk about ways to get you better. And we call these things remedies. Now, you might know medicine. I took some medicine at the beginning of this lesson, but there are two kinds of medicine here in the United States. There is something we call over-the-counter medicine. Basically, you can go into any store and buy over-the-counter medicine. The medicine that I took at the beginning of this video was over-the-counter. I didn't need a doctor's prescription. That's the next kind of medicine. It's usually a little bit more heavy duty. It's a little stronger. And if you take it the wrong way, it could really hurt you. So you'll have to go to the doctor's office and get a prescription for medicine that might work a little bit better. And we call that prescription medicine. You'll often have to get that at the pharmacy. You might also hear one of the best ways to cure the common cold is to get plenty of rest. That means laying in bed a lot. Now, when I say laying in bed, that might actually be grammatically incorrect. But guess what? That's what native speakers say all the time. Like, hey, I'm gonna go lay down in bed. I think lie down in bed is correct, but if you want to sound more natural, say it the wrong way, like we do here in the United States. If this English lesson is helping you in any way, do you mind hitting that like button? And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. You might want to ring that bell so you never miss another English lesson. Another remedy, or another way to feel better when you're sick, is to drink plenty of fluids or drink plenty of liquids. They're basically the same thing. So lots of water to keep your body hydrated. Maybe some orange juice, because some people feel that vitamin C, which is in orange juice, will really help you fight that cold. I've talked about the common cold a couple times in this lesson, so I just want to be clear. You can be cold. That's the opposite of hot. And for some reason, when you're sick, and you just have the regular aches and pains, stuffy nose, runny nose, stuffy head, we call that the common cold. But a slang term you'll often hear where I live is simply the crud. The crud, it's just, you'll get better in a few days. It's not fun to have, but it just has to run its course. When you say run its course, there's nothing you can really do to fight the common cold, It just has to go through your body, and eventually, a few days later, you'll feel better. If you're coughing a lot, and coughing is like this, that's a cough, you might take a cough drop. Or if your throat is itchy or scratchy, you might take a lozenge. A lozenge, that's kind of hard to say. It's almost like a cough drop, but it actually helps your throat feel better. A throat lozenge. I hope this lesson helped you with your English. If you're looking for another lesson about being sick, I have one about allergies. Thanks for watching. See you next time.